The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies, but also by the generous donations of you, the listener. A huge thank you goes to Tobias Whiting, Keith Erickson, Glenn Oberhauser, David Schkausen, John Michael, and Alex McIntosh. Guys, your most generous donations really help. Thank you very much. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 174, The Chicago Way, with hosts Neil Shuck, Mike Hobbs and Mike Whitaker, and guest Stuart McCorquadale. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. Once again, I'm Neil Shuck, and on this show I am joined by... he's back, he's better. It's the West England Wizard, Mr. Mike Hobbs.
Hello.
Hello.
Damn, missed.
Yes. Rumours of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
I'll have you know, Mr. Whitaker paid very good money for that.
Yes.
And talking of Mr. Whitaker, he's here. He's obviously bored with his holiday already. and joining us as our international correspondent from the ex-colonies.
Lazing on the bed with an iced tea in his very nice colonial apartment in Williamsburg.
Yes. It's the even more West England Wizard.
Well, it was English once.
Yes.
Indeed, and joining us only a couple of days after Independence Day, having been there on the day itself. I mean, did you not take the colours and valiantly try to take the colonies back for the motherland?
No, actually, we lazed around a lot, ate out, and trawled the very pretty bits of Williamsburg. It was a very nice day.
But more of that later in Mike's report.
I suppose it can't be letter from America, can it? Because it's
So, where's Luffy?
Whatever
then?
it is. Where's Luffy?
This is the question on everyone's lips.
Yeah.
I just had a message from Luffy, in which he basically says he's not home yet, he's still working.
Yeah. So, just for people...
Oh, so this is another of these, is it Wednesday moments?
Well, he did prefix by that going, oh, you on tonight? It's like...
So, just to give a little bit of context, it is now 5:08 on the 6th of July.
Yes.
It means it's 5 minutes before Wales play Portugal. So by the time this goes out, I'll either be crying or cheering.
It is also worth noting that it is therefore a Wednesday. And guess what we normally do on Wednesdays?
Indeed.
Yes.
Well, he's still relatively new to the team. Well, I suppose we'll have to let him off.
Yes.
He'll always provide some good entertainment.
Yes, anyway, so it's lovely to have everybody here, especially those of us who I wasn't expecting to be around. So, as I say, in this show, we got a couple of things coming up for us. All being well, we will be chatting later on to Stuart McCorquadale from Great Escape Games, all about the Chicago Way. That's going to be kind of the main meat of the evening, but we've also got bits of catching up to do. Mike can actually give us his first report from parts foreign. And
you might get more than one. You never know.
Well, all being well. And since he wasn't on the last show, to being to narrowly avoiding being assassinated by Mike's hitman, we'll catch up with everything Mr. Hobbs has been up to.
It was a hit woman, yeah. I just had a headache.
I don't think we'll go any further than that.
I was just about to say, I can conceive of many ways that could go, and none of them are good.
Yes.
One wonders what we do on a Wednesday night. Oh, good grief. And on that note, I think we'll take a quick break and, I don't know, have a quick word, change ends, have a quick rub down with a damp towel, and we'll come back shortly.
The eagles have gone. Britain lies defenseless in a cruel world. Since the birth of our Lord, it has been 456 years. What sins have we committed to bring this punishment to Britain? I speak, of course, of the Saxons. They came as allies, but now they seek conquest. The lands of the Britons lie ravaged before them. Blood runs red in our island. We need a leader to stand against them. We need a man to bring together the Britons in common cause. We seek a Dux Britanniarum.
Right, that's enough of that. Dux Britanniarum from Two Fat Lardies. They really are very good.
What have we been playing? What have we been buying? We might even have painted something. The Meeples and Miniatures crew reveal all. And we're back as Wales kick off. There, haven't they just?
About to. Oh, and Portugal probably scored.
Twice.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, you're the Welshman. I'm not going there. Okay, let's do a bit of catch up on what we've been up to since we last spoke, which was not so longer for some of us and a bit longer for some other of us.
Which means it's got to be Hobbs's turn.
Indeed, it has. Mr. Hobbs, well, looking at your blog, you've been a bit of a busy bee. What have you been up to, mate?
Yeah, lots of things. Some games. Obviously, Shop Practice 2 has been played a few times. I had a really good game of Chain of Command. A big 4-player game down the Firestorm. So thank you to Jeff Bond who put that on for us. So it was me and my mate Mark playing my other mate Ty versus Steve Bond, who's Jeff's brother. He was a damn fine chap. I obviously lost. Because that's what happens. Great game.
And what were you playing?
I had a platoon of Fallschirmjägers and an armoured car. And then Mark had a bunch of green hair who were basically holding a farmhouse in the middle of the board. Big 8x6 board.
Oh, right, okay.
There was a bunch of powers holding a crossroad, sort of US powers holding the crossroads on one side, and a whole bunch of US infantry and tanks coming in from the other side. I had to try and dislodge the powers. Mark had to hold off the entire US army, and it basically went badly. Because Jeff basically wouldn't let us talk to each other, so we couldn't sort of say, you go and do this and I'll do this. There was no tactical chat at all.
Oh, right, so it's one of these things of, unless the force commanders do happen to be within shouting distance, they don't have to talk to each other.
Yeah. So there was lots of sort of eye contact and, what are you doing?
You could have detached a scout section and sent it as a runner.
I would have done, but as soon as we sort of got into open ground, Ty brought on some Shermans, which had a clear shot, so we decided to hide in woods and make dashes and things.
Wimp!
Yeah. But it was a good game. great game. Yeah, I forgot just how much I like Chain of Command. And also I had a game of Sword and Spear. We were playtesting the new Undead rules, which Mark has rewritten, and they're very nice. So it looks like, touch wood, it's pretty much there.
Ooh.
So I've heard it might be out August-ish time.
Oh, cool. Well, that'd be good.
Yeah. Don't hold me to that. So that's what I've been playing. I bought a few bits and bobs.
Well, hang on. What even more bits and bobs after the mortgage that you spent last time then?
Yeah. I bought Charlie's Own Surf for our secret Project V.
Yeah, brilliant set.
Gosh, have you not actually got a copy of that yet?
I got the PDF, but I can't stand reading PDFs. So I bought a proper hard copy so I can read it properly when I'm quiet.
He reads it and thus discovers that he's collecting the wrong scale.
No, I'm collecting the right scale. So yeah, I got that. Did I say I bought Freebooters Fate Battles? I can't remember if I told
Oh, right, okay.
You did?
Yeah. Okay. I did buy some more Vietnam stuff, just to, supplement what I had. So I've got some...
a bit more?
Well, I needed some Viet Cong.
Ah, okay.
The enemy. So I bought an army.
Otherwise, you're playing some strange game called Don't Surf.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlie's hiding again and won't come out.
Or, of course, you could have just been playing a Charlie Company. Because if you play Ramp for Charlie Company, as the American player, you never see the enemy.
Yeah.
Fair comment.
Funny enough, last time we played Vietnam game, we played Force on Force.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of bunkers and literally put no Vietnamese figures on the table at all. They were just hiding in these bunkers, firing. So, but I thought, I need to get some. So I got some of those.
Did you get that company box that they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking at that and thinking, actually, that's quite good value. I mean, you get
what scale
you get an
are
awful
you
lot in there.
Hobster?
15s.
Ooh. So what figures? What figures are you using?
Battlefront.
All right, seems like a sensible idea.
Yeah. Well,
No, it's not. It's not sensible at all.
Although I've heard some not too complimentary things about some of the sculpts.
Oh yes, I think the Paravin sculpts are really awful. I went for the local forces, so the VCs, which are quite nice.
Yeah,
the Americans are lovely. Really, really nice sculpts. So I had a platoon of those already, and I had some M113s and some buildings. So I got some helicopters. I did a deal with one of the guys down on the Bing and Buy, and literally bought the Brown Navy army off him. There's like 3 boats and a platoon of figures. And he chucked in 2 helicopters as well. And I had about 25 quid. So.
A bargain.
Absolute bargain. So, painting lots of that. Painting a few Highlanders. I painted up some Mouselings, some Reaper Mouselings for fun.
Oh yeah, they were nice. Yeah, I saw those. They were very, not sure about them, mate.
Yeah, and I finished off my platoon from my 1940s Germans, my 20mm stuff. So all good. Lots of things going on.
Cool. So it's now official that between the two of us, for our not so secret Project V, we're now going to have an argument because we could potentially do it in 3 scales.
Well, the way I'm looking at it, mate, is we are 150 miles away from each other, and the chance of us actually playing the game together is very slim.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Yes.
You can bring a demo game to Hereward.
It won't be ready by then, mate.
I mean, nowhere near. I mean, how far is Hereward away? Hereward's what, 6 weeks?
7.
Yeah.
7. 8. Yeah. The phrase "two hopes, one called Bob" springs to mind.
Yeah. I probably have figures, but I wouldn't have any rules.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I've actually got figures. It just means that actually what I need to do is actually buy, because I can't find. Hey, hang on, we've got a common theme here. I can't find my 28mm Vietnam buildings. I know where my firebase is. My firebase is about 3 feet away from where I am. But I also bought some hooches and other bits and pieces, and I can't find them anywhere. So I was looking at the Sarissa ones at the start of the week. So I'm thinking
thereby guaranteeing that shortly after you pay for them, you'll find them.
Indeed. I mean, the Swiss ones are, I think they got about 7 or 8. I thought I'll just got half a dozen of the the different variations of house. I was having a look around at a couple of guys who are doing some really nice jobs with them. With different roofs and various other bits and pieces. And I thought, yeah, that'll do.
What scale are those?
And they're 28.
28, yeah.
Because, I have all my 10mm stuff.
Right.
I have all my 10mm stuff, which is all Pendraken. And that's all, and that's my Charlie Don't Surf army. Okay. Or armies. So I have all my 10mm stuff. But no, this is 28s. And because 28s I do actually have. And I keep banging on about this. No one believes me, so I'm probably going to have to I'm going to have to take some photos. But I do actually have two full-plated platoons, U.S. Army and local force VT, in 28. But I currently have no scenery, so that's the thing. I've got to just shed loads of scenery.
Yeah, I coloured Foley's stuff. It's buildings I'm looking at. I think I might get some of the ones from Max the Militarium. They got some really nice 15mm.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Yes. I was looking at those because the Hobmeister has been trying to convert me into 15mm by very kindly sending me a spare platoon of US infantry, and I went, "Oh, these are very nice." And then I started googling all these 15mm stuff, and I was went, "What am I doing? Step away!"
Well, you might be getting some of these local forces I bought as well, because there's like 120 of them in the box, and I don't think I need that many.
No, probably not. No.
So you might get half of those.
Oh, well, yeah, because I've got like 4 or 5 helicopters in 148 scale, and I think I've certainly got enough for a blue section and a pink section for helicopters. Not that, you really get them on the board much in 28mm, but there you go.
Yeah, that's not the point.
No. Indeed not, no. No. Oh, yeah, so, yeah, sounds like you've been busy, and as I say, we're kind of going off at kind of parallel. You can't really have a parallel tangent, can you? Geometry-wise, that doesn't quite work. But you kind of know what we mean. You kind of know what we're getting at. We're kind of, our project is travelling along in the same direction, but just kind of, it's a bit like Lord of the Rings. It's kind of, full size and Hobbit.
Yes, you can have parallel tangents, but they have to be on opposite sides of the circle, which I think explains the problem very well.
Very succinctly put.
Yeah.
By our American correspondent.
Yes.
Talking of which, what's the weather like in America?
Projecting thunderstorms later today. But otherwise, about 80-odd degrees and somewhat humid.
Is that because Trump's coming to town?
Oh,
bit of politics there.
Oh, don't do that. Careful.
No.
But yeah, weather's fine. It's not raining, blue skies at the moment, but forecast thunderstorms later. Forecast meal out later as well. Oh, the tragedy.
Terrible. So go on and tell us all about your holiday.
You've only been there for 4 days.
Give us a break, yeah. Aha! 3 days. Thunderstorms on the east coast of the States on Friday night, which meant the plane that made up our flight out on Saturday was late. Which meant that we were late, which meant we missed our connection to Norfolk, Virginia. So we got to spend Saturday night and Sunday in New York rather than here.
Oh, okay.
So, which was very nice because Virgin, being as how it wasn't our fault, put up for the hotel and the food. So we went to the Apple store in Queens and bought James a new phone. Well, actually, technically, what we did was bought Anne a new phone and did some phone trading. But and I'm firmly convinced that I never want to drive in New York, not ever. They're all mad.
Yeah, it looks a bit scary. Get a taxi.
So yeah, we're here. Here is very much original colonial America. They've got the whole Jamestown settlement literally 10 miles one way from where we are, which is, I think folks remember, Time Team did a dig there a while back. And we have the Battle of Yorktown, about 15 miles in the opposite direction, both of which we should be paying a visit to. I'm angling for a trip to the US Museum of Military Transport, and there's also an Air and Space Museum, which looks kind of fun. And on Thursday, I am meeting up with the guys from the Williamsburg Legati, who are the local war games club, for a game of Altar of Freedom, 10 Mil American Civil War.
Oh, cool.
So we'll get to see what American War Games Club is like. Although they tell me they're not particularly typical. This is Ron and Chris. Ron's a regular on the Two Fat Lardies list, and Chris is actually the US distributor for Radio Dish Dash.
Oh, right, yes, okay. Yeah.
So I'll hopefully have a little chat with them, which may appear later on in this issue, this episode of the podcast, or possibly the next one, along with the Historicon stuff. We'll see. We might spread it out over multiple episodes just for fun.
Indeed, why not? Oh, well, so that's basically what you've been doing, see?
Well, no, other than that, I've been curled up on the sofa watching the tennis most mornings, because why not? I'm married to a tennis addict. I was never going to get away without. And I have been slowly working through one of the Lardy's rule sets for one of the projects that I'm working on, which is not Duxbury. Just reminding myself how said rule set works. More of that later, but not this episode.
But not this
Is that secret project? Okay.
C.
We're going to run out of acronym.
Well, it's only because you've started poaching the idea with Secret Project Z.
Yes.
No. I'm sorry. We've got one better. We're Secret Project V cubed.
Yes, I have to say, as I commented to Ron and Chris, my only worry about Thursday evening is this is not going to do anything good for my desire to play American Civil War in some small figure scale, is it?
Good meaning not wanting to play it.
You mean the fact that a week after I go to play 10mm American Civil War with those guys, we're off to Historicon, and we have a spare suitcase.
Yes.
I'd probably buy my lead back over here. And actually, the way the pound's going at the moment, hopefully you bought your dollars before you came away, Mike.
Yeah, sadly, no.
Oh.
Not soon enough before we went away. Although I have noticed they've just dropped again.
What's the phrase? Passing quickly on.
Passing quickly on. But yeah, there's a dealer's room at Historicon, and I shall doubtless have a potter, as I'm sure there are things it's a damn sight easier to get over here than it is over where you guys are.
He's been over there 3 days and he's already gone native.
Okay. Can I just mention the fact that the Bacchus American Civil War range is very, very nice?
I'm well aware of that. Was it Henry who had an expensive accident with that, or was that with the 10 mils?
No, Henry had an expensive accident with 10 mil. Which, as far as I'm aware, is still in the box. I'll find out more about that when I speak to him.
There you go, Mike. Go make Henry an offer.
Please do not make an offer with you on my behalf.
Yeah, Henry, if you're listening, 50 quid for the whole lot, mate. Mike will pay.
So yeah, that's pretty much me. There's some undercoated Realm of Battleboard sitting at home waiting for me to get home. What else? There's a bunch of odds and sods to do with the show that I'm probably doing in the evenings here, which reminds me, anybody interested in putting on a demo game for the show, it's not too late.
Oh, Herwood.
They're correct. We've got loads of space for games, so more games is always welcome.
What do you think we should put on a Meeples game then?
Well, you put on your nice Tuna Come On game.
Something to take offline, I think.
I suppose you. Yes, indeed.
I'll leave you thinking about that. But that's me from over here.
What was the phrase? I was going to say what was that phrase that cropped up last week? Oh, perhaps we should have talked about this sooner. Yes,
anyway, so that's me from over here.
Oh, right, okay. Well, you've done something more than me over here. Yeah, it's been a fairly quiet week hobby-wise. I've been. As we recorded this, it's only been a week since we recorded the last show, and I'm still frantically trying to finish editing it. So that's kind of what I've been doing more than anything else. Did kind of get to play a game that I hadn't quite planned, but I thought it was about time we got round to it. Last Thursday was fun enough. Friday was the 1st of July, which is obviously the 100th anniversary of the Battle of the Somme, or the start of the Battle of the Somme. So last Thursday night, I ended up playing a card game with Dave that I'd been sent from Martin at Vexilia, and that was a game called Eighth Corps. It's the first of a series of card games that has been written in series of Battle of the Somme. Actually, one came out on Friday called Ten Core, and there's I think there's 3 or 4 more in the series. And Martin was sent me those to review a few weeks ago now, anyway. And with one thing or another, obviously with the break that I took and what have you, they kind of got pushed a little bit onto the back burner. But I thought it was an entirely appropriate time to break that out. So I gave that a go. The reviews on the website. It's one of those games that you play it first. You've played it first time through, and you soon realise as you're playing it that you've obviously got it all cataclysmically wrong, because we kind of got to the end of the game and we went, is that it? You know, it's one of those things where Dave goes, "Are you sure you got that right?" And I went back and went, I missed that bit. Yeah, but I mean, it's an interesting thing, as I say. I mean, it's kind of a fairly abstract card game, which is meant to look at the attack of 8th Corps on the first day of the Somme, and just kind of explore some of the issues involved. It's one of those games where it's nice because it's got like the history in the rules. I mean, it's a print and play game, so it's got the history in the rules, and it's got like the author's thoughts and ideas on why the game works the way it does. And it's got some, it's got some interesting mechanics in it and what have you. It did kind of leave me thinking what its audience was, and kind of got me thinking that actually, it's quite a quick game. I suppose it's like 45 minutes, and I thought it's one of these games that you might kind of end up playing in almost like an educational context. But interesting mechanics, interesting game. Glad I got to play it. So we did that rather than play Saga. Which I suppose we should have been playing Saga, because Joyous 6 is creeping ever closer. Really got to make sure that we know Saga at least one way round by the time we get to the 17th of July. But that's about it, really. I mean, weekend was taken up with weddings and getting Josh ready to go to Barcelona, because he's just disappeared to Barcelona for a week. But that's been it. It's been a really quiet week. So that's me. Not a lot done at all this week.
Never mind. Wow.
Didn't even buy anything other than that. Oh, so there you go.
Time for the news then.
Indeed. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, it'll be news time. Announcements, new releases, Kickstarters. What's caught our eye? It's time to catch up with the Meeples and Miniatures hobby news. And it's time for the news. The news is Andy Murray is playing a 5th set at Wimbledon, although he's a break of serve up. And Wales are currently winning 0-0.
But
the England cricket team aren't playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say everyone knows this because it happened 2 weeks ago.
This is live-ish.
Recorded as live.
Yes,
indeed. Also like that. Anyway,
so what we got in the news bag?
Well, I'd like to make a start with one of my favourite companies, which is Alternative Armies, and they don't get enough.
Oh yeah, I knew this one. Yeah, knew this one had to come from you.
Yes. Okay, so Alternative Armies been around for a long, long time. They've got a little painting service which I've had going for a while, which was just doing their Waterloo figures, but now they're doing pre-painted fantasy figures from their collection, and they look quite nice. I've actually had some stuff painted by them. I got some of my undead Russians, which aren't Russians, but they are Russians. And they're quite nice, they're reasonable price, nice quality, nice and neat. So I haven't looked at the fantasy ones yet, but it's worth having a little investigative Alternative Armies. They've got an awful lot of nice ranges out there. And for the price of their fantasy stuff, it's well worth picking them some up.
Cool. Good stuff.
Those lovely chaps from Warlord. You're going to hear that a lot, this news, I think.
Really?
A Waterloo box set.
Oh, yes, this looks interesting, doesn't it?
This looks well tasty, especially if you have a certain yen for a certain well-known Two Fat Lardies rule set, which I'm quite sure Warlord never intended it for.
No, but it's well worth it for that.
70 quid?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get, it's...
Nope.
Was it 48 British?
You get, yeah, that looks like 48 British. Lots of cavalry, lots of froggies.
Cavalry? Are the cavalry in there?
Yep.
I didn't realise it was cavalry.
Yeah,
There is
12
definitely some cavalry in there. Lots of French,
Hanoverians.
lots of French and greatcoats for a change.
I must admit, I haven't looked at the Warlord plastic figures because I tend to go for Perry's.
The Warlord ones do tend to A, be a little bit more chunky, and B, tend to be a lot simpler. A lot of their French grey-coated stuff. Well, I'm just trying to remember if it was the French grey-coats or the Prussian grey-coats. So they actually sent me some samples of, and basically, no, I think it was the French ones. And basically, they're like 3 parts.
Yeah, it's just main body, backpack, and head, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's it.
The only sadness looking at this pack is that they only give you one artillery piece.
You only need one artillery piece for sharp practice, and most people actually argue that you don't need any.
Well, yeah, but one for one side.
But Mike, let's be honest, it's 70 quid. You can go and buy another pack.
Yeah, with the money you've saved. Yeah, quite. It does look a rather nice deal. I said my major beef with the Warlord figures is they do look like 36mm figures that have had an anvil stuck on their head to reduce them down to a sensible height. They are a bit stocky.
Yes, they are a bit stocky and chunky.
But in terms of versatility of the boxes and general ease of putting together, they knock most of the others into a cocked hat. The only problem is that they do look a bit chubby compared to if you've majored on Foundry or older Perrys, for example. There's going to be a noticeable difference.
Yeah, but I think for people who haven't got into Napoleonics yet and want to play sharp practice, this is perfect.
Go for it.
Yeah, 48 French and 12 cavalry. That's your core force done. And then you got 48 British infantry, 24 Hanoverians. That's literally two core companies, and a Royal Artillery cannon. So that's
you just pick up a few French odds and sods.
Yeah,
and you're well away.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, of course, that if they're actually
does a rifleman, you do.
Yeah, the figures will be from their standard box, so you'll get lots of variation. So you can pick out half a dozen Voltigeurs from the French, etc. Lovely job.
Yeah, very, very good deal. I was wondering whether somebody would do this, because after looking at the Perry's ACW battle box,
which is flying off the shelves to sharp practice players, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and I think this will do the same.
It comes with an A5 cut down version of Black Powder Rules, isn't it? I think they're doing a special offer at the moment that you can get the PDF of Black Powder for half price or something like that.
Wow, which used to be a PDF for Black Powder.
Yes, there's a PDF, and I think they're offering it for a tenner instead of 20 quid.
Nice.
But as we say, for those of us who have come across another Black Powder skirmish rule set, we just ignore that bit and just borrow the figures.
Quite, if you haven't got them already.
Yeah, really, really good deal, that one.
Yep, nice one, Warlord. Next.
Yes. Next, let's go back to some small figures, shall we? Pendraken, those wonderful people that make all sorts of goodness in 10mm, have just released a couple of ranges which you're kind of thinking, I'm sure they've been there already, but apparently not. They just released 2 sets of, they've released Imperial Romans and Gauls. And very nice they are too. Real works of art in 10mm. I mean, you kind of look at them and think immediately, they're a decent 15mm figure, and suddenly realise they're 10s.
Yeah, they do look good.
Or is it kind of super 10s? Are they near 12s? Or are they actual 10s?
Pendraken's normally pretty good on its sizing. I haven't seen them, but I mean, I had some of their World War II stuff years ago, and they were, they were proper 10mm. So I would be very surprised if these are slightly bigger.
They are lovely, aren't they? They're really, really nice. I'm kind of quite surprised they're not already in the range, sort of thing. Considering they are kind of fairly common ancient armies, but or whether it's a case that they've actually just kind of resculpted the range. But no,
I think they're resculpts because there are old Imperial Roman and old Gallic in their range, right, so okay. You can get which actually is quite nice because it's giving you the option of buying both ranges.
Oh, right. So as opposed to just retiring the old range and all you can get is a new one, you can now get the option of both. Oh,
it's
okay.
It's a great big sign saying old Imperial Roman, old, and new Imperial Roman, new. They might retire them, sometime in the future, but it looks like they're keeping them old, they're keeping them going. So, good one.
Cool. Yeah, they're nice. Again, if you haven't plumbed for an ancient force yet and you want something that is very nicely sculpted, doesn't take up an awful lot of room, and is ideal for games such as, I don't know, Sword and Spear or something like that.
To the strongest.
Then, yeah, give them a look.
Sorry, I've drifted into Pendraken's fantasy range.
Steady.
Come back, Mike. Come back.
Sorry, just having a little look. Okay, next use item.
Okay, you'll probably be hearing about this, more than likely be hearing about this on a separate podcast, because View from the Veranda is returning very, very soon to the airwaves. But our very good friend Henry Hyde is launching a new digital publishing company aimed at the wargaming and military history enthusiast.
We are agog.
Yeah, called Gladius Productions. There's a lot of changes going on in the background at the moment with Henry, some of which he's kind of hinted at before. And as I say, I'm going to catch up with him on a View from the Veranda, so you'll find out all the ins and outs on that. But as of the 1st of July, Gladius Productions was officially launched.
Is it actually Gladius or Gladius?
We'll find out in the next few.
I guess we will, won't we?
We will, indeed. So, if you sign up for the newsletter, he's actually offering a couple of freebies. One is a set of scenario maps. Basically, it's a set of half a dozen or so ready-made scenario maps, all designed for 6x4 tables. All they are is the table layout. Now, some just from the table layout are key to particular areas, shall we say? Like ones that got a couple of ships potentially in the layout. So it's very, it's aimed very much at like 17th, 18th century sort of thing. Whereas several are much more generic, and they could equally find a home in Napoleonic, in World War II, ACW, or what have you, as kind of generic areas to fight over.
They are, I suspect, going to have the sort of same generic feel as a lot of those Charles Grant scenarios for Wargamers maps.
Funny you should say that, but they are indeed of a very similar
Why does
style.
that not surprise me, knowing Henry as I do?
Indeed. So that's one of the freebies. And the other freebie is that if you bought the Wargames Compendium, you'll know that in there, Henry produced a load of 2D terrain tiles. What he's actually done is reproduced a whole load of these in essentially it's you get two on an A4 page, so they probably make up something like 4-inch squares. But it's basically a whole bunch of 2D terrain tiles. So if you are so inclined, you could build a 2D Wargames table or area, or travel board, what have you, off these 2D terrain tiles, and they're both free if you subscribe to the Gladius newsletter.
Cool.
Mm.
Yeah. Not a bad start.
Yeah. Be interesting to hear about that. I'm intrigued.
It's part of Henry's starting to look at different directions.
It's one of those kind of the right person to be doing this somehow, isn't it?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yes.
Indeed. Yes. Yes. So looking forward to what Henry's got in store. It sounds quite intriguing. Yeah, a couple of nice little freebies.
Good.
Mm-hmm. Moving on. Those nice folks from Warlord Games, stop me if you've heard this before, have just announced certainly the impending release of Konflikt 47. Now, my first Google for this actually hit Clockwork Goblin games, which confused me briefly until I realised that this is another of Warlord's assimilate and conquer approaches to the world, in a good way. It is basically what would you describe it as? Slightly weird, slightly extended War II, a bit Secrets of the Third Reich-ish, only using something very akin to the bolt action system. Lots of nice things like weird four-legged, spidery-looking walker mechs, that kind of thing. It
isn't something like. It is.
Bolt action.
Yes, it is, because strangely enough, it's coincided to be released alongside second edition Bolt Action 2, which is coming out at the same time. Woohoo! There you go.
There's the thing. But yes, very, very Secrets of the Third Reich. Secrets of the Third Reich-ish. Gosh, that was hard to say.
I do believe
it is earlier in the morning for you.
It is, yes. So I should be interested to see the Clockwork Goblin stuff's been around for a while, hasn't it?
It has been in 15 mil. Well, 18 mil, and then they had a little bit of 28, didn't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're quite. It's going to be interesting. I do believe it was mentioned in the issue 399 Miniature War Games Forward Observer column this month.
Was it now? Who wrote that, Hobbsy?
Who knows about that?
Some bloke.
some bloke from West England.
Yeah, from West England.
Hang on, we did this routine two issues ago.
Yes, but yeah, it does look interesting. I think Warlord could make a go of this because it's sort of been the funny thing with World War II. It's never really taken off that much.
No, but
people have tried.
Equally, you sort of felt that Beyond the Gates of Antares was Warlord trying to do to 40k what Bolt Action appeared to be doing to Flames of War, and it doesn't appear to have succeeded. So it's jumping in the World War II market. It might work.
I think it'll probably have a bit more traction because there's a lot of Bolt Action players who've got armies. And
yeah, maybe
if all you got to do is buy one or two of extra vehicles.
Yeah, it's never really floated my boat as a concept, though, to be honest.
Ah, you see, that's because Cthulhu wasn't involved. So you've got to be playing the other alternative World War II.
Oh, sorry, no. Well, no. It's got nothing to do with Cthulhu and everything to do with zombies, remember?
Cthulhu has zombies.
Yes, no.
Gotta have zombies. Dead zombies.
Yeah.
Yes, Nazi zombies and female troopers in skin-tight leotards. Yes,
we sadly didn't have any of those. On the grounds, I'd like to show my face at Annie's stall again.
And moving right along, we also...
And moving quickly on, indeed. Yes.
As we're in the sci-fi genre-ish.
Oh, that was a good link. I like that.
I like that. I was going to want to... I've been thinking about that for ages. Rogue Stars, a new sci-fi skirmish game, written by Andreas Filigoi.
Filigoi,
yeah,
indeed.
Him.
Yes, who has he of Song on Blades and Heroes fame, who has quite an impressive War Games rules pedigree behind him these days.
Does indeed.
Yeah,
figures by North Star. Do sound interesting. So it's a character-driven game, small, 20 figures aside. No, sorry, 4 to 6 figures per player.
I suspect this is effectively going to be the sci-fi version of Advanced Songs of Blades of Heroes.
I was about to say, is this basically Songs of Lasers and Blasters?
Don't know.
To be fair,
I'm not saying this is a bad thing.
No, I'm going to say, to be fair, I mean, if you look at what he did with things like Of Gods and Mortals and, Kung Fu Fighting, which were, which are based on the engine, but he did different things with them, they were both really good. And it's a fun
there
is an argument to say that, I was going to say, if there is an argument to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No, absolutely. He's got a really neat little engine there. Which is different.
All it's saying is the game uses an unusual activation system to represent the chaos of combat.
which is potentially different because Songs of Legend Heroes doesn't have a massively unusual activation system, does
No.
it? So yeah, it might be playing around with certain different mechanics. But yes, that's due out imminently, and it's essentially a very similar way of publishing in the same way that they did with Konflikt Fighting. That Andrea wrote the rules, Osprey published them, Nick produced a figure range for it.
Mm.
So, yeah, that would be interesting. As I say, especially if it's a case of you've got a really small figure count.
So I was going to say, I think Cobblestone's doing the sculpting, isn't he?
Ooh, that'll be nice then.
I think that's what I heard.
If Mark Cobblestone's doing the sculpting, that'll be awesome. If you hadn't picked up on that, I am a bit of a fan of Mark.
You are a bit of a fanboy, aren't you?
No kidding. On the subject of sculpting and they'll be nice, the Perrys are at it again.
Just to jump back there a sec, Rogue Stars sculptors are going to be Mark Copplestone and Mike Owen.
Ooh.
So they'll be nice then.
Now
They're going to be lovely.
Now there's a pair of sculptors that are guaranteed to extract certain people from their wallets. Yep. Or money from their wallets.
So, sorry, Mike, back to you.
Yes, please. Here's my wallet. Help yourself. In my case, that seems to happen with the Perrys. and they're at it again. In this case, it's some ACW metals and I've just stupidly gone and closed the page, which was really not very smart of me, was it? Some Cape War British.
Those Cape War ones do
yes,
look good.
That seems to be the big thing for the for Perrys at the moment, isn't it? Doing all their Cape War stuff.
Yeah, they're just. It's not fair. They shouldn't look that good. They shouldn't make such nice figures. Stop it now.
You've just spent it. You can't spend it again.
Yes, I know. The bad news when you're sort of wandering around, as well as being introduced to 10mm ACW on Thursday, I'm going to spend most of this next week wandering around AWI battle sites, full of live reenactors.
Oh, because it happens to be, I don't know, the season for it.
Strangely enough. And what's the other regularly played period in sharp practice? Oh, yes. American War of Independence.
Mr. Whitaker, you really didn't think this through before you went away, did you?
I didn't pick Williamsburg, would you believe? Oh, yes, that's a really good idea when somebody else did, but more shiny Perry stuff as if there wasn't enough.
I've got another one.
Go on then.
Something a little bit different. So it's something for the our friends down under. Eureka Miniatures, who is another firm who doesn't get enough mentioning, I think.
Oh, definitely, definitely not. And actually, while we're on the subject, let's now. I'll officially apologise to Nick from Eureka for the fact that I completely missed him at Salute. Because I went to Salute fully intending to catch hold of Nick and interview him. For some inexplicable reason, I completely missed him. So, Nick, if you're listening, I'm really, really sorry.
No, it's a shame. Anyways, Maori Wars. Eureka do a range of Maoris, including a 28mm scale waka, which is the long boat thing that you use. And they've also got a set of rules called Tribal, the skirmish combat game, which looks interesting. But there was talk about you doing Maori Wars for shop practice. So,
and if you want some scenery, those folks from Printable Scenery do some 3D models of 3D printable models of a Maori stockade.
Mm. Yeah,
as long as of course you know somebody who's got a 3D printer.
Yes. Indeed. But yeah, it's just something a little bit different, and their figures do look lovely. They really do. So yeah, I'm not sure what the rules are like. I know nothing at all about them, but it's definitely worth investigating.
Yes, and oh, by the way, thank you to everybody who did point out that last time we were on the mailbag and we were talking about ranges we would like to see, and both myself and Mr. Hobbs talked about Michael. Well, Mr. Hobbs more than me talks about Michael Moorcock, and the amount of people that turned around and said, Eureka do an official Hawk and Moon range.
Yeah, but they haven't released them yet.
On the subject of looking lovely, just to wrap things up, Claymore Castings have brought out some 100 Years' War French men-at-arms. And they are they're 28s, I'm assuming. They are very nice detail on the sculpting. There's a brilliant looking knight with a two-handed sword and loads of detail on the edges of his armour that just looks absolutely fantastic. They're really nice figures.
Yeah, Claymore Castings, they've been around for a little while, haven't they?
Yeah.
Again,
those are very, very nice. If you're looking for things for sort of hero figures to supplement your Perry's plastics or whatever, those really do look like they fit the bill.
Yeah, and not a bad price. It's £7 for 4 of them, isn't it, for the French men-at-arms? But
that's not bad at all, is it?
They got some nice ranges. So they got the French, the early 100 Years' War, English, Irish, and Gallagher Scots, Irish, and Highlanders. So they look lovely. I'm not sure who the sculptor is. They look a bit Hicksy-ish, but I'm probably wrong.
Well, you're the expert on that kind of thing. I have never figured out how you're that good at telling sculptors apart, but I'll bow to your expertise, because by far too many different sculptors. They've been around a while, haven't they?
Yeah, 4 years.
If you're doing Agincourt things, and those are very, very, very nice.
Yeah, really, really nice figures. But I'm not doing Agincourt, so I'm going to close that browser window.
Is that it? Are we done with news?
Indeed.
I think that's about it. Yeah, I think we're about done.
That's Army News. And coming up next, an interview.
We haven't done one of these for a while. It's competition time. Those lovely people at Pen and Sword have very kindly asked if you wanted to run a competition. Over to Mr. Whitaker for the details.
Indeed. So, as Neil says, those lovely folks from Pen and Sword, who also donated a prize to the Combat Stress raffle for Operation Market Larden, which raised a rather juicy £271 before gift aid, have given you lucky listeners, 3 lucky listeners, the choice of one each of a number of books from the Images of War series by Anthony Tucker-Jones. We have Special The Panther Tank, Special Tiger 1 and Tiger 2, Special T-34, Battle for the Crimea, Eastern Front Air War, Battle for Kharkov, Armoured Warfare in Normandy, Armoured Warfare from the Riviera to the Rhine. So 3 lucky winners will each get a choice of one of those. And we have a question for you.
Hang on one second. What is more, they will be signed copies.
Oh, yes, we did mention that, didn't we? They will be signed copies.
Signed by the author, indeed.
As not by Ocelot, signed by the author.
No, yes. This is signed by the author. And funnily enough, those prizes are somewhat appropriate to a topic of conversation we're going to have. Yes.
Indeed. So, the competition, the question. All 4 of the regular Meeples presenters, which is to say myself, Mr. Hobbs, Luffy, and Neil, have fully painted, ready to deploy chain of command forces. Name us one of each of ours. I want to know which army list, not just, it's Germans.
Right. Okay. You're
not obliged to tell us which scale.
I was going to say, I think I know 2, but that's about it. Right. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So the competition is going to run for, what was I going to say, a month?
End of July?
End of July.
End of July, yes, okay. So the competition is going to run to the end of July. Please email your entries in to competition@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. Okay, so that's competition@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. Please entitle it Pen and Sword Competition. Okay, so that's pen and sword competition, and put your answers in there, and then we will do a random draw of all the people who got it right. And that will be in the show that is published on, that'll be the show that, we'll publish it either in the show notes or we'll record it and add it into the show that's due out, probably actually the 15th of July now, won't it? No, 15th of August.
So, and the question once again is, all 4 of our presenters own at least one painted chain of command force. Name one from each presenter. Trawling people's blogs is a highly recommended process.
If that doesn't up our blog traffic, nothing will.
If that doesn't improve our page views, God knows what.
Yeah, indeed. Good luck with that, and don't forget, closing date for that is the 31st of July. Have you ever wondered what's going on in wargaming? We do too. So come with us as we go behind the hobby with the Meeples and Miniatures interview. We'd like to welcome back to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast, Stuart McCorquadale from Great Escape Games. Hello, Stuart. How you doing, mate?
Hello, I'm really good. I'm really well.
Great to have you back on the show, mate. Great to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're talking to Stuart about, a release that's a couple of months, more than a couple of months old now, which is The Chicago Way, which came out at Salute earlier this year. But, I mean, at the same time, we want to kind of catch up with everything Great Escape Games because it sounds like you've been a bit of a busy beaver.
Extremely busy. We've had some major changes. We've got new staff members on board. It's all been a bit crazy.
Plus, you've moved as well.
We have moved, which is the most exciting thing to ever happen in my life. We've moved from our cupboard, which was a cupboard. We've moved into an all-purpose singing and dancing, big mega office and distribution area. It's very comfortable. We've got lots of space. I'm going to put in a gaming table once we've got everything sorted, and it's allowed us to be a lot more efficient at stock control and getting orders out, getting distribution orders out to the US, to Australia, Germany, Spain, all sorts of places. And it's been an absolutely excellent move for us. It's been a lot of work, but it's near completion. We've been fully functional in here for about 4 weeks now, and we hope to have everything finished so that we can then relax and swan about in dressing gowns and sit in the jacuzzi. And it'll all be nice.
Is that the other thing that's in Andy's corner of the office?
Yes. That's one of the downfalls of sharing with Bad Squiddo Games. There are lots of ups, but we have to put up with some of the decor as well, some of the purple decor.
Because the new area is about 8 times the size of the old one you had.
Yes, it's at least 8 times the size. We have 2 employees here at the Great Escape Games office now, and we've got a nice amount of space so that they've got a desk. There's plenty of area to work. We don't have to move boxes all of the time. It was a constant pain in the cupboard when we were moving boxes in order to do anything. No more of that. It's all free and clear. It's made it so much more efficient, so much easier to run, and it's freed me up a little bit, well, quite a lot actually, so that I can look at planning projects. It's freed Jasmine up so that she can look at more of the administration side of the business. And it's all going really, really well. I'm really happy with it.
It is very impressive, I must say. From just the size of space you got there.
Yeah.
Plus you have a part-time sculptor sort of hiding in the corner.
We do. We have Phil Hines, who's Phil Hines Sculpting Studio. So he's up here busily sculpting away, which is good, and which is also bad because he occasionally comes along and says, "Oh, come and have a look at this sculpt." It's really nice having him here as well. Hopefully, he'll be here more and more often.
Yeah,
because his stuff's starting to get get good.
Yeah, he's really coming on really well.
Yeah.
You should just leave some sort of draft documents of new rule sets on his desks and see if that encourages him.
Yeah.
Photographs of things that you might like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and say, I bet you couldn't make this.
Yeah. So that's been probably the biggest piece of work that we've been doing since Salute. We've been releasing quite a bit of stuff as well. We've got a load of Chicago Way releases in the pipeline at the moment. I've got a lovely alcohol still on my desk right now, which is going to come out soon.
Oh, cool.
I've got 2 of them, in fact, and some other bits and pieces. There are a couple more figures for the Chicago Way, which should be soon after that. Yeah, so there's plenty going on.
As you were talking about Chicago Way, shall we have a little bit of a chat about it, and then you can sort of tease us with these new things that you might be releasing.
Indeed.
Yes. Okay, so the Chicago Way was a natural avenue for us to go after Dead Man's Hand. We'd always planned with Dead Man's Hand to do 3 books and to do, I think it's 12 or 13 gangs we've done now.
Yeah.
And then, although we are not moving on from Dead Man's Hand, we're still developing Dead Man's Hand. In fact, we've got 2 releases for Dead Man's Hand in July. I think there are 2 releases in August as well for Dead Man's Hand. There's another release later in the year, which is a bit of a bigger release for Dead Man's Hand. And there'll be some further stuff next year as well. And that's all planned and ongoing. So the Dead Man's Hand engine, that rules engine, works really well for the Wild West genre. And the natural move on from that occurred to us was gangsters. And who doesn't love gangsters? You can do the same sorts of things. So you've got small groups of people with firearms. And so what we did is we took the core Dead Man's Hand rules engine, we made some adjustments, A, to fit the genre a bit better, and B, a reflection of some of the things we could improve on with Dead Man's Hand. And then we added in vehicles, of course, which is a major thing. We changed all of the cards around and introduced, within the Chicago Way rulebook itself, introduced a really quick style of campaign system that you could set up right away and that you could finish in a very reasonable period of time. Or, of course, if you wanted to do an extended period of time, that was up to you. But it was something that you could actually do in a short amount of time. The Dead Man's Hand campaign system is a bit more in depth than the Chicago Way. I'm not saying one is better than the other. There's different strokes for different folks, isn't it?
So are you planning to kind of revisit that at all, or is that, no, that's what's there?
Nope, we're not going to revisit it at all.
Okay,
that's it. We're going to do some, there's going to be some more stuff for the Chicago Way. The first step is to flesh out some of the stuff we've already done. So we've already had a couple of releases of casualties for the gangs, because dead people on the tabletop always look good. There are a couple more packs of those to come out. There are some terrain pieces which are very, very unique to that sort of style of gaming board. So we've done fire hydrants, which are a bit of fun. We've got some nice lamp posts coming out. Got a couple of stills coming out, a couple of moonshine stills, the usual sort of crates and bottles. And we've also just released recently terrified civilians, because civilians are always represented in miniature ranges, but I wanted terrified civilians who are running for their lives or cowering. Yeah. And of course, civilians can actually be present in the game. So we really needed terrified civilians. Yeah,
I thought, I must admit, when I saw those, I thought, that's a really nice touch, because so many of these gang games seem to take place in an environment where nobody else lives except the 2 gangs.
Yeah. Yes.
That's everyone else is Italian.
That's one of the reasons we wanted to make civilians part of the game as well, so that they could pop up from time to time and get in the way, because it just adds to that genre. When you're watching the movies, there are always civilians getting in the way. Yeah,
having reread the rules the other night, I suddenly found myself watching the station shootout from Untouchables again. Yeah, and it's like actually, that's got a really high civilian body count in it.
Yeah. You really need a pram and some steps.
Yeah. That would be lovely. See, that's on the radar, and that's something we want to do. We definitely want a pram, but it's actually quite a difficult thing to do, I reckon. But maybe, yeah, I definitely want a pram. The other interesting bit of terrain that we're doing, like I said, the bits of terrain that are very unique to that time period. So one of the really nice releases that Foreground have done for us is the Samuel's Garage, and it's a petrol station. It's a fuel station. We needed to do fuel pumps for it, so we've got somebody developing petrol pumps or gas pumps to go along with that piece of terrain, which will be really nice. I've seen some of his early work on that, and he's doing a really nice job. So hopefully they'll be out in the not too distant future.
Because Foreground have really gone to town on this one, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. They're an absolute delight to work with. Whenever we've got one of these projects in the frame, Foreground are an integral part of our planning stages. So we're constantly talking to them in the early planning stages about what kind of buildings we'd like to see them do, and they always come back to us with what kind of buildings they want to do. Usually there's we've propositioned them for 4 or 5 buildings, and they'll come back with 8 or 9 buildings. It's usually the way it works. They always overdo it, but that's part of the charm, and that's part of the great thing about working with them. They're an absolute delight.
For anyone who hasn't listened to our previous interviews, where we talked about Edmund's Hand, and has got no idea about Chicago Way or anything like that, do you want to give a quick sort of overview of sort of game size?
Yeah,
miniature, that sort of stuff. Just a quick sort of 1,000 feet from the air overview of what the game's about.
Yeah, so in the Chicago Way, you take small gangs of gangsters, police, prohibition agents or moonshiners, and you fight it out on the streets. We tend to use small gaming areas. I actually use a 4x2 foot board when I'm playing, and that's the sort of idea of gaming size. There's usually 7 figures aside. Some scenarios use less. In the campaign system, you might build up to a few more than 7 figures, but 7's a good size game to start with. The game engine, the way the rules work, are very simple. It's something that you will literally learn in 5 to 10 minutes of playing, but it's those little nuances that you pick up after having a few games. It's entirely not serious. It's not meant to be serious. It's a cinematic style of game rather than any sort of serious reconstruction of 1920s era skirmish tactics. The real way it's driven is by the cards. When you get your Chicago Way rule set, you get a deck of 54 cards with it. That deck, it's a normal playing deck, so it's the 4 suits and a couple of jokers. And these form decks for the players when they're playing a game. So each player will have a deck of cards. Now, that deck is used in 2 different ways. Number one, you use a hand of cards, and on the cards there are descriptions. They have different abilities. So if I'm looking at a card right now. This one's called "He's Going Down in the 5th," and you can play this card during the game. Usually, you can play it at any time. And on this one, when you play this card, it means that an opposing model at any point during its move action is stopped. So you say, okay, as he moves out there, right to the middle of the street, I'm going to play "He's Going Down in the 5th." That ends that model's turn. So he's just done for that turn. And of course, you can imagine what kind of scenarios you can use that one for. It really allows you to lay ambushes and do all sorts of crazy things. The other thing that the cards are used for is for initiative. So at the start of every turn, each model gets an initiative card, and that tells you when in the turn that model is going to perform its actions. Now, it's not as strict as that, although that does give you a snapshot of when every model is going to take their turn. Models can always interrupt. So if I've got a model that's not going to act till the end of the turn, and you've got 2 models with shotguns that are going to come around and gun me down like the dog I am, I can always interrupt and say, okay, I'm going to burn my activation. I'm going to duck behind this door instead. so you can save your guys from almost certain death. The beauty of the relationship between the cards, between initiative cards and the cards that you hold in your hand that you play to screw over your opponent or to enhance your own guys, means that things are never predictable. We also use within the combat system, we also use quite big dice. So for shooting, everything's on a D20. So it makes things entirely unpredictable. It's not to say that it makes it random, but it does make it much less predictable. You've got to think sometimes about weight of firepower and just pouring lots of shots into the enemy to stand any chance of getting them down. But it also uses the shooting system also uses a graduated series of hitting. So you can get a normal hit, you can get a good hit, and you can get a kill shot. So there's that unpredictability. You may have somebody who's got a Tommy gun and he's hard as nails and he's got some lethal, horrible-sounding name related to how many people he's killed. But if you roll up to him with a pistol and roll a 20, he's dead, like everybody else, and there's nothing he can do about it. Well, unless he's got a card that'll save him.
Yes. Yeah, but if he's got a Tommy gun and you've got a pistol, you better make sure that you're firing first, because Tommy guns are really nasty.
They are horribly nasty, horribly nasty. The other thing that's interesting about the cards is that each gang gets its own suit and gets its own special cards. Like I said, it's a normal pack of playing cards, so you've got spades, diamonds, hearts, and so on. Now, if you took, for example, the I think it's the Prohibition agents, who are the hearts, they've got a set, like I said, they've got these special play cards. So I described one. He's going down in the 5th. The 2 to 10 of each suit are the same. So my Prohibition agents with hearts, my 2 to 10 of hearts are the same as your 2 to 10 of spades. But it's the Jack, Queen, King, Ace that are different. So I've got a unique set of 4 abilities that reflect a certain playing style. So the Moonshiners are a bit crazy. The Prohibition agents will really stop you doing stuff. So each gang has its own unique little set of abilities. Added to that, each gang has its own inbuilt abilities that it can always use. So while it has some abilities where it has to rely on cards being drawn, it has some that are unique to that gang that it can use all the time. So, for example, the gangsters have an ability within them that it's called I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. And that means that once per game that you can target an enemy model and you do and you've got a chance of throwing him a bribe that obviously you've done before the game, and it'll mean that model doesn't do anything for that turn. He's pocketed that $1,000 and he's decided to work with you for a turn. And the police, they've got an ability to take cards out of their discard pile. So there are all sorts of fixed abilities and also the card enabled abilities that just add a flavor to each of the gangs and make them perform in slightly different manners. It's a lot of fun. It's the kind of game as well where you can play it easily in an hour, a full-size game. You can get it done in an hour, which means you can then do a couple of campaign games a night. You can when you start to get into the campaign system, you can start to build abilities for all of these characters, which can take them from being just normal 2-bit punks to feared assassins. They can be terrifying agents of the law who are going to take everyone down and bring everybody to justice. And you can also build up the size of the gang, and you can add extra weapons. You can bring cars into it. And then within the campaign system, the campaign is all about influence, and it's about spreading your influence throughout Chicago just by winning games, really. All you do is have to win games, and then you get to play influence on the campaign map. That's another thing that comes with the rulebook. You get a big fold-out campaign map. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's a really good game. It's a lot of fun. You can play it quite quickly, and 7 models to paint up isn't so bad. And yeah, it's gone really well. We're really happy with it.
Cool. So there was 4 gangs that came out with the original game, wasn't there?
Mhm.
Yes.
And you're going to extend that, or are you going to bring in more figures?
The first plan at the moment is to make sure that we have all of those figure ranges complete. So there are each of those gangs gets 2 more packs, couple more packs of figures.
Oh, okay.
They get a pack of casualties, then a pack of extra figures. There are a couple of extra special packs planned as well. It's not going to be a massive range. Do you know what? I don't actually know if we're going to do another gang, primarily because we haven't thought of it yet.
Yeah, I suppose that is the thing, isn't it? Because I mean, you either just do another version of the gangsters. You can't do another version of the police because that's the police.
Yeah.
You can do some sort of characters in the police, I suppose, so you can extend it that way.
That's exactly it. It's quite easy to imagine all sorts of, if you like, bad guys to do.
Yeah.
But really, you've kind of exhausted the good guys unless you do things like maybe go over the border slightly into Canada. So, yeah, maybe. Who knows?
I'm quite intrigued with the card mechanism.
Yeah.
We've sort of touched on it a bit. So, in a little bit more detail, so you have a deck of cards. Each player has their own deck.
Yes.
You then, at the start of the turn, you draw a number of cards, which becomes your hand.
Yeah, that's at the start of the game.
Start of the game, right. And then, in the turn, you put down cards to activate figures during the turn from your hand?
No, from your draw deck.
Yeah, from your draw deck. So yeah,
at the start, random, is it?
At the start of the game, you might draw, for example, 4 cards for your hand,
Right.
which you're going to use to affect the opponent or enhance your own guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep those in your hand and you keep those secret from your opponent because you don't want him to know what you got. So for the initiative, at the start of each turn, each player draws the top card of their deck and looks at that card and decides to assign that to a model. Now, I've just done it here with my deck in front of me, and I've got an ace. So I'm going to give that to my shotgun guy because I want him to do something first in the turn before anybody kills him. The rest of my characters get a blind card. So they're just given a card. They're assigned a card. And then you flip all those cards over, and that tells you who's going to act when in the turn. So here I've flipped mine over here. I've had an ace first. Oh, my next guy's got a king. Oh, my next guy's got a 3. So that's going to form the running order. So then when everybody's got their card, all the aces go first, then all the kings go, then all the jacks go, and so on and so on and so on.
And is that for both players?
That's for both players, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Now, as I did mention before, at any point somebody can interrupt that. So let's imagine my shotgun guy there has got an ace, and you've got some poor sap in front of him who's got a 2, and you think you're going to get blown away. What you might say is, I'm going to interrupt you, and I'm going to fire. Now, there's a reason why you'd want to interrupt, and that's obvious. You might want to save your skin, or you might want to jump through a window to escape that shotgun. But there is a penalty to pay. In the Chicago way, when you activate a character, he gets 3 actions. If you interrupt and react, you only get 1 action, and that's your turn done. So you're taking 1 action now instead of 3 actions later. So it's a little bit of a balance, and you'll always find yourself thinking, no, do I burn his activation now, save him, or do I just wait? Do I just hope he's not going to blow me away? I always make the wrong decision.
Sounds like it.
And so will you. So will everybody else.
Yeah. It sounds like you're playing spoof.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That sounds good. And, there's rules in there, obviously, for shooting, close combat, morale, and that sort of stuff, is there?
Yeah, and it's really simple. So I think I mentioned before how shooting broadly works. It's on a D20, and there are graduated hits. Hand-to-hand combat is pretty simple and brutal. I would usually, if you've got the firepower, you want to avoid the close combat. It can be quite random. Morale is handled quite easily. Individual models don't have morale. You do just have a breakpoint with it, and that's written into the scenario. So a scenario might say the game ends when half of the models are on one side are out of action. Within some of the scenarios as well, you might have to take a break test when you've lost half of your models. Some of there is a little bit of inbuilt morale in the shooting system, actually. Remember how I said about there being graduated hits? So you can get a normal hit, you can get a better hit, and you can get a kill shot. Well, that better hit is where morale comes into it, because I'll just read from the table so the listeners can get an exact idea of how it works. So you roll a d20. There are obviously modifiers. I'm not going to go through the modifiers because we're war gamers and we know what they might be. You know, it's -1 to hit if you're behind cover, that sort of thing. So when you're rolling to hit, if you roll a natural 1, that means you're out of ammo. If you roll a 2 to 10, that means you miss. 11 to 14 is a hit. 15 to 18 is a hit, and it forces a nerve test, which is like a morale test. If you fail that morale test, you have another hit, so you've taken 2 hits instead of 1. And 19 and up, you're out of action. Now, those hits you accumulate, and you keep from turn to turn. If you have more hits than you've got hits value, then you're dead. And usually everybody's got 4 hits, so that once they've taken 4 hits, they're dead. However, remember that I said you get 3 actions a turn? One of those actions can be to recover, and that's simply to remove one of those hits. So when you get to activate your character, you might have one hit on you. You might say, okay, well, with that character, I'm going to recover, I'm going to shoot your guy over there, and then I'm going to move. And that means there's always this to and froing of things happening in the game, and lots of decision making as you've got to decide, you know, do I save that character now? Do I reduce the number of hits? Or do I start shooting? Or do I move? There are all sorts of things to decide. And that's what makes it really fun.
It does sound good. I mean, it's nice. I mean, I played Dead Man's Hand a few times.
Yeah.
But it was a long time ago. I need to play it again. And I sort of remember the sort of poker style of it.
Yeah.
You know, and it is quite immersive. It's simple mechanics, but it is just, you know, it's got something about it. It's got little sort of soups on of nostalgia that comes out, and just you just get into the mood of the game.
Yeah, and the cards make it non-serious as well. There's lots of screaming moments where you're frustrated because maybe you've played a card and you think it's going to win you the game, and the other guy plays a card and it doesn't win you the game. Or maybe you've drawn the initiative cards and all of your guys are going before all of his guys, and you think, yeah, I've got you now. But then you move everybody to point blank range, you fire away, and you don't kill them all. And then he gets to go with you being able to do nothing. You can't even react. That happens a lot. That happens a lot to me.
It's a really nice, quick, interactive system. But as you say, it really does give that cinematic feel, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted it. We've done historical games, which are we're all historical wargamers. So we've got our serious side, haven't we? Where you want to recreate the battle of whatever, and that's fine. That's great. I love doing that, and we still do that. We've done that. We're still doing that, and we're going to be doing that in the future. But I like these little interludes of doing things that are not so serious and even a little bit light-hearted and cinematic. I think cinematic's really the word that describes the single word that describes the Chicago way and Dead Man's Hand the best.
Mm. And obviously you got a whole series of scenarios.
Yeah, there's a whole series of scenarios in the book.
And then you've got the campaign system, bringing everything together.
Yep.
Giving you the next level.
Yeah, and what's fun about the campaign system is you start these characters from a basic level, and you can add skills onto them. So there's a whole load of skills. Some of those skills are common to everybody, and then the Prohibition agents will have their own unique skills. The Moonshiners will have some unique skills as well. And you can also carry wounds from game to game, which mess you up a bit. So that's a bit of fun when you've got somebody that you've developed over several weeks of campaign play, then somebody shoots him and he loses an eye.
Now, because it's Chicago and the surrounding area, building's obviously important, and you mentioned that you've been doing work with Foregrounds and they produce some great stuff. But also, you've been starting producing your own vehicles as well.
Yes, yeah, we vehicles are obviously integral to the genre. You need them, and what's more fun than driving vehicles around, running people over, and crashing into lampposts? So yeah, it had to be done. We've worked with a couple of people to develop 4 resin vehicle kits, or some of them are resin and metal, and we've been really happy with the way they've turned out. So it's going to see us doing a little bit more development with regard to not only we've done resin scenery before, and we've been very happy with what we've done with that, but we're going to go into some more ambitious project with resin, and especially with vehicles. So I hope to be doing a little bit more of that in the future for other areas, not only Chicago.
I mean, to me, that what you've done so far is really good, and you mentioned that you're going to be stretching, and adding more characters to the game. But have you thought of having some sort of, child-based gangs? I'm just throwing it out there, just sort of, little cars that they can pedal.
What, like pedal cars?
Yeah, we haven't worked out the rules for splurge guns yet.
Oh, go on, please! It'll be brilliant. Hey, I've got the album. I can bring the album down and play it.
That's right. My kids performed in the play a couple of years ago, and I went to watch it, and it was a riot. It was an absolute riot.
I know when we talked about this a while ago, and originally you were saying, especially with the buildings and stuff, what we want to do is we're taking it, not playing in the middle of Chicago, we're playing on the outskirts and what have you, and a lot of the buildings kind of reflect that, or a lot of the initial release of buildings.
Yeah.
Reflect that. And you were saying that, because we don't expect everybody to build, downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
However, I have noticed that quite recently, like this week, Foreground are now releasing a whole load of tenement buildings and stuff like that.
Yes, the Gothic City range. Yes.
Yes. So all of a sudden, you can play downtown Chicago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because those new buildings they're doing, they're sort of empty inside, aren't they? So they become like shell buildings.
Yeah, that's right. And so they're probably a bit more affordable, because if you had the normal foreground interior detail, you'd have to spend a lot of money on them. And I've actually just taken we're speaking on the just after the release of the second wave of those Gothic City buildings. So they released a whole load of really big, chunky ones, and now they've done some smaller tenement buildings, which are the ones that I was really excited about because they're a bit more affordable. I love the big £70 kits, but I think when you're putting 6 or 8 together, the smaller tenement buildings are going to be the bulk of your terrain. So we've just had our delivery of all of those. So I might be getting my fingers sticky and doing a bit of gluing, because they look great. They look absolutely great, and they're a decent price as well.
They are good.
So that's why I stuck them in along with the rest of the Chicago Way buildings in the online shop, because of course, why not?
Plus you're doing the sidewalks, which is great, because it's one of my biggest bugbears. Whenever somebody does a city, they have a building on a road, and that's it. It's never pavement.
It's terrible town planning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing about working with Foreground is they do think about a lot of the angles, and they actually see what they do is when they do their kits, they put them all together and they start building towns out of them. So when we're developing stuff with them, I've got a load of Dead Man's Hand buildings that were never produced because they were the early takes on them. And what they did was they did a few of those early buildings, put them together and thought, okay, they're fine, but they're going to work better if we do this. So they actually do the practical work of developing a product and then actually testing it and considering the wargamer and what the whole terrain board will look like rather than just the single piece, which is really good attention to detail. That's why they're great to work with.
Well, thanks, Stuart. That kind of covers the Chicago Way and kind of where you are with it at the moment. But as we said in the introduction, you've been really, really busy with a lot of other stuff. So can we go into some of the other stuff you've been working on?
Yeah, we've got a couple of things that we're developing right now. I've got a finished manuscript for Sword and Spear Fantasy.
Oh, fantastic.
And just had the initial artwork for that, I think 2 days ago. There's a local artist in Cardiff here called Kate Evans. Red Maiden Art is her company. And she's mad, and she's a magnificent artist. And she produces. She did in Iron Cross. We've got these talking heads, these little characters that appear throughout the book and give you little tactical tips. We've done it before as well, and so she's brought me the talking heads for Sword and Spear Fantasy, and although generally historical gaming is where it's all out for me. One of the things with fantasy and with fantasy art is you can be more fantastic. So these two characters she's come up with are absolutely magnificent. We talked about what we were going to do, and I gave her a very loose brief because she's really creative, and the stuff she's produced is great, and she's now doing the cover for that book. Yeah, Sword and Spear, which the manuscript I've just had drop in my lap about a week ago, starting to go into production with that. So that shouldn't be too far away. I would expect a release. I've got a big announcement on this as well. I'd expect a release of Sword and Spear Fantasy prior to November. And we'll also, just after the release of the hard copy of the book, be releasing the PDF copy as well. So I can confirm that now.
Oh, fantastic stuff.
Yes.
My God, Steve, you haven't actually moved into the 21st century, have you, mate?
21st century. Yes. Yes. Richard Clark dragged me there, kicking and screaming. Said, you've got to do it. Do it now. Of course, prior to that, Sword and Spear Fantasy, Sword and Spear, the historical version, the original, will be available in PDF format as well. I did initially promise July. I'm going to try and hit that July promise, but if not, it'll be August. So by August, you should see that available as PDF as well, because I know lots of people are yearning after it, and I've been convinced of all the arguments. I'm fully on board. It's just taken us a bit of time with all the projects that we've got going on. So the other project that's in the pipeline right now is by another collaborator, and that's Daryl Morton. He's doing the as yet untitled Iron Cross Mediterranean expansion. If anybody's got a good name for it, I'm all ears, because it's not North Africa, it's not Middle East, it's that sort of Mediterranean area. We're including Greece and some other bits and pieces. So yeah, I need a cool name for that. That's going to be. There are lots of. The great thing about Iron Cross is actually the lists are quite easy, and you can do quite a bit to manipulate them and give them these unique little flavors, whilst not being silly about it. Yeah. And so there are a lot of lists. There are obviously going to be all the major ones you can think of, but Daryl's working on all. So there's going to be a Greek list, for example. So Daryl's working all the angles on that, so that we're going to have lists that nobody makes figures for. Of course, that always happens, doesn't it? And he's looking at some really specific scenarios that are really playable. We've been playing a lot of scenarios. Generally we sneak down to Firestorm Games in Cardiff on a Sunday, and we'll play 2, 3, or 4 times. We'll do the same scenario. We'll switch sides, and we'll see how everything works. And we've been getting some really close games and some really good games. Luckily, a couple of the scenarios have seemed to be quite easy, and they work and flow quite easily. We've had a struggle with a couple of others. We've had a couple of ambitious ones that we've been trying out, and they'll need a bit of refining to see if they work. But that's ongoing as well. And again, that's this year that's going to be out. So that means we're going to end up releasing, I think, 3 books in 1 year, which I don't think we've ever done before.
Oh, that's good. We actually have a question from Twitter.
Okay.
Because that's the sort of people we are now. This is from Jim, my old mate, Genial Jim. Yep. Wants to know if the new Iron Cross is going to cover Syria, and if you've got any plans for East Africa in 41.
Yes, and yes. Yes, that's all on the brief. So yes.
Excellent stuff.
That was easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really. There you go, Jim. That one's sorted.
I wonder how politicians feel when they get asked questions, because I was scared there for a minute.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be hard.
No, we actually have another question from good old Moving Douglas. I do like this interactive Twitter thing.
Yeah.
Right. He's asking the question on everyone's lips.
I say you need to tell other people that you're doing this while you're at it, by the way, you know.
Yeah.
I missed that completely.
Yeah. That's why we will. He's asking about Pacific War, whether you'd be doing that at some stage for Iron Cross.
Well, the answer is yes. There are two reasons for that. Number one is because it's too often ignored, including by us. I admit it. And number two, I do a lot of work and have a close working relationship with Company B in the States. And that's a little bit of a specialty for them, doing all of the Pacific War stuff. So that's a definite yes.
That would be good. Yeah, because like you say, it is overlooked by pretty much everyone, and it's a fascinating campaign. Really.
If there's anybody out there listening that's into wargaming and likes Iron Cross and that period and that theatre, then you can always get in touch and give us a few tips.
Cool. That completes the audience participation part of the podcast.
That was fun.
Right, Mr. McCorquadale.
Okay.
I've been looking around your site, and I come across a thing called Kobe.
Kobe, yes.
Kobe. What's that then?
An old friend of mine, he works for a distributor in Denmark, and he was telling me about these kits, these Kobe kits, and I fell in love with them because they're Lego-like kits. So you know how the Lego pattern ran out, and there are loads of companies doing Lego-compatible building bricks. Well, there's this Polish company called Kobe, and somebody at Kobe is heavily into World War II because they make a ton of World War II kits, and it's not like this is just a blocky tank and they call it German tank. No, you look at the kit and you well, that's a Panzer III. It's obviously a Panzer III. You look at the other kit. And that's a Firefly. It's obviously a Firefly. They look exactly like the tanks. I've seen online. Sometimes you see people doing Lego videos of World War II battles.
Yes.
They've obviously done a lot of work. Now, those people seem to do a lot of work to make their tanks look like the proper tanks. Well, this is a company that makes them and sells them to you. So when I saw these, I asked him to. Because he knew the people he knew the distributor in Sweden, so I asked him to put me in touch, and I found out that this Swedish distributor supplied all of the museums in the UK. So I got in touch with him and I said, "Oh, I love these tanks. Can I get some?" And we talked for a while, and I bought a load of these tanks off him. A pallet rolled up one day, a huge pallet of these kits, and as soon as they landed, I sent one up to Mark in Nottingham. I sent him up a Panzer III. I put a Sherman together myself, and it was a lot of fun. The instructions are absolutely spot on. I sat in front of a movie and over about an hour and a half put this kit together. 400 pieces, goes together beautifutely. They're really big.
400 pieces?
400 pieces in a Sherman. Yeah.
Right, okay.
They're really chunky. I think I did work out the scale, what I thought the scale was. Was it 132 scale or 124 scale? So they're really big. They're really nice and big. The turret moves, the gun goes up and down, the tracks move, the engine compartment opens up. You get a couple of little figures on it. They're just a lot of fun, and they're doing planes as well. They're doing World War II planes. The eventual plan for them, as I understand it, is to do 12 World War II planes. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That is a lot, isn't it? Yeah. And so, we're going to get some planes, I think. I've got to get some planes. They're also they're produced in the EU as well, which I found really unusual, because you'd have thought that sort of stuff automatically was all done in China. But no, these are EU manufacturers, so they're really nice bunch of folks. And we've been taking them to shows, and it's generally men of our age that buy them. Yeah, occasionally there's people with their kids, and the kids will say, "Oh, can I get one?" And the dad will say, "No."
no, that's mine. Yes.
Yeah. And
They are fab.
Yeah, they are fabulous. I really like them, and we've got a small selection in the web store now, and they're just worth that lazy afternoon. You know, I know we're all painters, but sometimes I just don't want to paint. I want to do something else, and it's nice to spend a couple of hours doing something different. I've recently been doing some airfix stuff as well, so it's kind of related to that. It's sort of doing this hobby-related stuff, but it's slightly different to wargaming and hobby modelling. Well, of course, the airfix that is hobby modelling, but it's just doing something different. I like to take a break once in a while. If you see us at a show, come along and we'll have a few of the Kobe kits there. We'll probably have a couple of the built ones as well. I've done one of the German anti-tank guns. It's just a little anti-tank gun kit with a couple of crew. It's just a little bit fun. So I want to get kids. It's part of getting kids interested in wargaming. We're getting older. We need to get the younger ones into wargaming, don't we?
Mm.
And if building block kit's the way, well, so be it.
You said to me a while ago, Stu, when we were chatting, that you've noticed the rules have been getting simpler.
Yeah.
Do you think that's part of? I mean, do you think that would help getting kids involved by making the rules simpler and not making them think about the whole logistics of a Napoleonic battle?
I think that's kind of a zeitgeist of wargaming in general, which is good in a way, but I do like to get. I do like to do some of the grand wargaming still, but I think for getting kids into wargaming, there does need to be an entirely different approach to it, because wargaming is quite daunting. Even if you look at it from being within wargaming, a wargamer who's not done the Napoleonic period before will look at that and be really daunted by it. So, what do kids with all of the pressures on them of all of the different technologies and social media? How do you entice them into a hobby which is, 90% of your time is spent sitting at a desk assembling and painting figures and doing all of this stuff. So I've had a long-term ambition about doing a specific little rule sets that are for kids or for parents with kids. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the Airfix. Modifius did the Airfix battles.
Yeah,
and I think that's maybe an avenue they're going down. Although it doesn't appear that Hornby are distributing the rules, which I found unusual. But I'd just like the idea of getting back to. Do you remember the first time you did anything remotely related to wargaming? Because I do, and
yes.
It was with plastic soldiers. And it was throwing marbles at them. Eventually, it turned into something a bit more sophisticated. But essentially, what we were doing was we were setting up toy soldiers. We were moving them about and trying to do a tabletop battle, on the carpet, inevitably, or the garden. But it was that sort of thing. That was almost normal for everybody as a kid, just as playing marbles was normal, or making little parachutes and throwing things out of the window was normal. And I don't think it's particularly normal for kids to be doing that sort of thing now. It's inevitable because there's so many more distractions for them. But if we're going to retain and grow wargaming, we need to maybe introduce a few more people to it at a younger age. It's only ever wargaming is only ever going to capture it's always a niche market. It's always a niche. We can always grow it, but if we're not actively doing it, it's going to shrink. So I've always had this ambition about doing those simple rule sets, which are effectively just little guides about wargaming, about doing different sorts of activities, which just involve playing against an opponent and using, even if it's a rudimentary set of rules and guidelines. And I think that's probably going to be my next project.
it sounds like a very worthy idea. I mean, it's like you say. I mean, we all played with Airfix kits when we were a kid, and people don't do that much anymore. And I wonder if that's generational, because we all sort of grew up in 70s, late 60s, 70s,
80s.
Don't give me that book.
Are you suggesting you're a bit younger than us, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But the simple thing was the technology that is available to kids these days just wasn't around. Yeah, it was. Yes, our childhoods were completely different, weren't they?
Yeah, I'm not blaming the technology or blaming the kids.
No, not at all.
It is what it is, isn't it? And it's inevitable. But there are other things out there, and actually, see, we like using technology, and we've grown with the times, but we've still retained that love of modelling, and it is a really good hobby. It's really, really a good hobby, and I wish that as many people could actually see it. Now, of course, the majority of those will say, "Oh, that's interesting. I love what you do there. It's not for me." But then there are others, through just exposure, through just seeing it. If you don't show as many people as possible, then as many people as possible aren't going to come into the hobby, are they?
Yeah, because I mean, the way I sort of look at it, for us, it was probably Airfix that got us into playing with toy soldiers.
Yeah.
And, I know that Neil and Mike, the other co-hosts, got into wargaming in school.
Yeah.
And the Donald Featherstone stuff. I didn't. I got into role playing, when I was 14, 15, and that was my entry point. For people of us, the next generation down from us, probably got into it through Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Games Workshop was a massive, and it still is a massive force on bringing youngsters into the hobby.
Yes.
How they look after them after that isn't, it's a completely different question. But I wonder whether there needs to be another Games Workshop style of game, maybe for the kids who were born after 2000, who are now sort of 10, 11, 12. Whether they need to go into the Games Workshop, or whether there's something else that could just grab their attention, and how that could be done.
My prediction is that you're going to see, I think toy companies are going to go that way. I think some toy companies might catch on to the idea of, think of it as some sort of organized play. And I think toy companies will catch on and figure that, hey, if we give them some sort of organized play, then they're going to become loyal customers, because otherwise they're just buying a toy kit here and that's it. Now, if we give them a reason to play with it and a reason to buy more of our toy kits, and I think you'll find a couple of them cottoning on to that.
Yeah, and the one commonality with everything, throughout the last sort of 100 years, is it's all about collecting and building something, isn't it?
Yeah.
The hobby is always around that.
Yeah.
I hear people saying that that's the part of it that they're worried about kids not getting involved in. I sort of think kids would do. I think kids love getting their hands dirty and painting things and gluing things together and, doing things like that.
Yes, as long as they've got the opportunity, but the opportunities are fewer and further between, aren't they? Because we don't have so many of those stores. We've got plenty of Games Workshop stores, but in the grand scheme of things, not many. But that's why I hope that others will be. Why my prediction is that other toy companies will cotton onto that, and that people will just get into the idea of collecting and putting things together. You can do it. You can do it with Lego. You must have done it with Lego. You must have been building tanks with Lego when you. I certainly was, and then smashing them up.
Airfix for me. I was building Airfix, but I never played games with Airfix. I just built them, and I had a whole ceiling with planes hanging from bits of carton.
Yeah.
I built a Battle of Waterloo with 172nd Airfix using the covers from my 2000 AD annuals, which I took off and glued together to make a board.
That's heresy, isn't it?
I was young. I got the annual.
We want to see photos. You should have taken photos.
There aren't really.
No.
Honestly, I used to keep this thing underneath my bed.
I tell you, having heard that story, there'll be blokes out there crying.
Yeah.
He did what with the 2018 annual?
I'm crying because I did. I did actually use some of my sister Jackie annuals as well, but move on from that.
Oh, that's all right.
But yeah, so that whole hobby side of things, I think, is important. I mean, that's the way in. You know,
Yeah.
I do like what Firestorm do.
Yes, with the games days.
Yeah. Which we haven't mentioned on this, but they do. It's monthly, I think they do it.
It is, yeah.
They have sort of family days on using a Saturday or Sunday. The families can come down and the kids can come down, and it's a kid-friendly area, and they can play all sorts of different games. And there's board games out there that they can play with. The card games, they do Pokemon. They do all sorts there, and it's a big family, event, and that's regular, and that I think is good.
Yeah, you don't get the opportunity to do that a great deal in a place like a store-like environment. And yeah, there should be more of it. It's great. Well done to Firestorm. They do a great job.
Yeah. Even though their tea and coffee is extremely expensive.
You can always come upstairs for a tea and coffee, Mr. Hobbs.
Whenever I go upstairs, Annie sells me stuff. And even you start pointing to things, going, "Oh, have you seen this?"
Hey, it's you on Twitter saying, "Stu, have you got these?"
Yes, I'll be down soon to come and raid your Rubicon box.
Yes, they arrive tomorrow.
Oh.
Well, Stuart, it's been great to have you on and to chat about and catch up with everything that's happening at Great Escape.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it sounds like there's an awful lot going on and lots to look forward to. And that's just this year, not going into next year at all. So
I'll come on later in the year and confirm all the crazy things for next year as well. We've got a couple of really good fun ranges coming out.
Cool. It'll be good to have you back. Cool. But looking forward to it. Chicago Away is a great little game.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed that, and things like Sword and Spear Fantasy, which obviously we know that Mr. Hobbs has been playing lots of, but it's still sworn to secrecy.
Yeah.
So it's not saying anything to us really.
It's very, very good.
So thanks for coming on. It's been great to chat. And,
thank you very much.
All being well, we shall catch up with you soon.
Yes, catch up with you soon. Cheers, Neil.
Okay, cheers. All the very best, mate.
Cheers,
thanks
Mike.
a lot.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Where strategy board games and miniature war games collide. This is the Meeples and Miniatures podcast.
I think we're about ready to stick a fork in this, aren't we, mate?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yes, it was nice chat with Stuart. It was good to have him back on.
Yes, always good to chat to Stu. The eagle-eared listeners, you might have realised that Mr. Whitaker isn't on this particular part. That's because he's on his way to Historicon.
He is indeed, yes. Due to the fact that some segments are recorded a week apart on this. Yes, he is. Well, tomorrow as we record this, he will be in Fredericksburg, I think. Is it? Yeah.
Yes.
And yes, and as I understand it, he'll probably be parting money and giving it to a certain Mr. Thornhill as Bill is releasing his first packs of Scots and Irish, I think, at Historicon, and they look very nice. He put it up on Facebook, and so I just shared it. I just shared it with Mike. I went, "Oh, Mike, have you seen these?" Because Bill put it up and said, "Oh, we'll have advanced packs if we're going to Historicon this weekend. We'll have advanced packs." And Mike said a couple of very rude words to me.
Now they'll be of the typical Bill style. So lots of hair, lots of beards.
Indeed.
Bill does like his beards.
Yeah, they do.
He's going to kill me for that now. He's going to absolutely kill me.
But they are very nice. They are very, very nice indeed. One thing I was thinking, we were talking in what we've been up to. We were talking about buildings and not quite so secret Project V. And I was saying that Sarissa, the buildings I was looking for Sarissa were 28mm. They do actually do a 15mm range of the same set. If you're doing Vietnam in 15mm, Sarissa actually do quite a decent range of MDF buildings, because I know some of the resin ones can be a bit pricey in that scale. So
yeah, I was having a look at those. The watchtower looks like a definite must.
Oh yeah, that's really nice, and it's only $750.
Yeah, so I'll definitely be getting that.
Yeah, that's cool. And of course, especially with the fact, it kind of fits in with the fact that because they're all kind of like, wooden construction, it kind of works in MDF. More so than, as I say, more so than some of the buildings. It does tend to work better. So they're quite nice. I was reminded that when you asked the scale, I said 28mm, but no, but of course we were talking about your 15mm Vietnam, which of course is completely the wrong scale, but we won't go there again. Yes. Right. So, as I say, I think we're about done, aren't we?
Yeah. So, what's coming up on the next podcast, Neil?
What's coming up on the next one?
Oh, it's going to be a long one. Oh, the next one's going to be really, really, really long.
Oh, yes. On the next podcast, we will be chatting to Neil and Derek from Spartan Games, and chatting possibly a little bit about Halo Grand Command.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's going to be a long one.
Yeah. It's not so much an interview, it's more of an umpiring task that we have.
Indeed. Yes, I was chatting to Neil the other week, and because we wanted to get a conversation in around about launch time, and actually we'll be recording just before they disappear off the Gen Con, which is very nice of them. But because officially, I suppose, because of the way everything works, they're actually launching Halo at Gen Con, the Halo Grand Command, should I say, at Gen Con. But no, we get to chat Neil and Derek, and we've got lots to talk about, maybe even a couple of teasers about other things. So yeah, if you're into Halo or into Spartan Games, don't miss the next one. It should be a goodie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Lots of questions to ask.
Oh yeah, yes, I've seen some pictures that other people haven't seen. Oh. That's all I'll say for now. Teaser. Oh, they know. Oh, the pelican is so nice.
Yeah, have the vendors will look good. I mean, it's 13 inches long. It's big.
Yeah,
it's a big bit of resin.
Yeah, I've seen it with the rear cargo clamp included. You can actually put it, so actually in game, you can connect a warthog or even a scorpion to it, and the model is designed to carry it. So you can literally have it fly on carrying your scorpion and have it drop it off. And it's all designed to do it. It's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, but maybe we weren't to talk about that. I don't know. But it looks so cool.
So that's what's coming up in the next show.
In the next show, indeed. So until then, well, as I say, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. We'll be back again in a couple of weeks, and we'll be catching up with say Spartan, and we may even be catching up at that point with everything that Mr. Whitaker has been up to at his Tomicon.
We may have to split it into two shows.
Yes, depending on what he's been doing. So lots to cover in the next show. But thank you for listening this time around. Hope you've enjoyed it. Mike, thank you for joining me.
No problem. Thank you, sir, for having me back on.
Yes, nice to have you back after your brief headache. Until next time, well, as I say, nice to have Mr. Whitaker on, however fleetingly. We'll all be back all being well, we'll all be back together next time round.
We'll all be back in the same country.
Yes. So until then, happy gaming, take care, and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, why not share it with others by leaving us a review on iTunes? And if you have any comments or questions, you can always email the show. The address is info@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. And you can also visit our webpage, where you'll find a complete episode archive, all the View from the Veranda podcasts, rules reviews, and our blog of hobby items and news, which is updated several times a week. This is also where you'll find the links to our presence on social media, and here you can follow us on Twitter or join our Facebook group. And finally, here you can also find details should you wish to support us by making a donation to the podcast. All this on the Meeples and Miniatures website, www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.